there my lovelies, and welcome to my BookTube channel, the Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today we're going to talk about the books I read in January. I had a very great reading month. I read 5 books in total, and none of them had less than 4 paws, so that was another great reading month. It seems like I'm on a roll when it comes to reading. To be fair, most of those books were borrowed from the library. I had to read them pretty fast, which is the reason I actually managed to read 5 this month. It's a lot for me. Usually I only manage to read 4 books, but this time around I managed to read 5, and they were all great. And well, I think we'll just get to it. This is a rather unplanned video because I thought I would have time to record my wrap-up video, but then I realized that my kid has school holidays next week, so no time to record anything, and well, I decided to go for the video now. I prepared a couple of cheat sheets, but I don't know how much I wrote on them, and I guess we'll take it from there. I also have my coffee at the ready, as always. No video of me without any coffee. I should have called this channel Library Books and Foxes and Coffee or something like that. Anyway, enough of that. Let's just jump into the 5 books I read in January. It was a great reading month, and the first book I read in January was Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn, and it was already the 2nd book in the series, and I gave it 5 glowing paws because this book was so great. I absolutely loved it. I don't know if you already read the first book, but if you haven't read the first book, I will just give a short summary of the first book. We basically follow Bree, a black girl that comes to college and starts there with her bestie. But one night at a party, I think it was even the first night they spent at college, she gets involved in a demon attack and realizes that demons are real and that there is some sort of secret Arthurian society kind of protecting the students on the campus and on the entire world. So yeah, this is an Arthurian retelling with a very interesting twist. It's really, the first book blew me away. I didn't expect Legendborn to be that good, but wow, I loved all the characters. It's such a really diverse and great cast. And we also have LGBTQIA+ rep, and it's just amazing. And of course, Bree gets to know Nick and Selwyn is a mage, and Nicholas is the future resurrection, I think. Can you say it like that? Well, he is Arthur, basically. Arthur reborn or something like that. Anyway, this was really great. I really liked the first book. I also loved that the author didn't hesitate to tackle racism in the book and how it's happening in Bree's life without her doing anything, and how people treat her a little differently. I really like the perspective we get here from Bree's point of view, from a black girl that goes to college and experiences all those things. I mean, the table of Arthur is mostly white people, so that already says a lot. White, rich people at that. And I really like that the author wrote about this, and there are a lot of scenes and moments that, honestly, the injustice. And the second book basically starts right after the first one ended. And if you haven't read the first one, and if you haven't read the second one, there might be spoilers now, because I want to talk a little bit about what happened in the second book. If you don't want to watch this, just fast forward to the next book. But as for the second book, as for Bloodmarked, wow, the betrayals and the, I don't know, the injustice, the horrible injustice Bree suffers from the hands of the people that are in charge. It's horrible. It's so horrible. I had a very tough and hard time to read this book, because there's nothing more that, or nothing rises me more and makes me more angry than injustice. And there was so much injustice in this book, and so many betrayals, and so many things we didn't expect and I didn't see coming. And we get a little bit of Nick in this book due to him being gone missing at the ending of the first one. We get a lot of Selwyn and Bryn, and I'm still Team Sel. I love Sel so much. And I think in some way Sel kind of suffered a lot for being a March as well. And being a March is obviously not as great as everyone thinks and as it seems to be. So we got a lot of background there too. And I personally love the addition of Larkin. We don't get a lot of Larkin, but the moments we had were great. And quite honestly, I ship him with William so much. And I really want those two to get together. But yeah, aside of that, we don't have a lot of the former cast of the first book. We really, I think mostly it's just Bree, Sel and their best friend. Yeah. So not a lot of Nick, not a lot of all the other mages and pages and I don't know what else. It's a really complex world building, so I love that. It's a really complex fantasy world and not that easy to, well, understand. Yes, it's easy to understand, but there are so many nuances among the mages, the pages, the scions. So that's really interesting. I love the world building as well. Okay, so I won't say more for the first book. I absolutely loved it. The ending left me reeling. I can't believe I have to wait so long for the third book, because book 2 ended on a cliffhanger and it's killing me right now. It's killing me. Anyway, 5 paws it is. I love that book so much and I can't wait to read the third book. And it definitely didn't suffer from second book syndrome. Quite the opposite. Okay, I'm just gonna take a sip here. And then we will go to the second book I read in January, and it's Kick at the Darkness by Keira Andrews. And I rated this book with 4.5 paws. Because it was amazing. It was so great. It's the first book in a series, and it's basically the zombie apocalypse meets werewolves. So we have The Walking Dead and kind of Wolf Song mixed into one. It was great. It was so great. I honestly, it was an impulse buy. I didn't expect to love this book as much as I did. I just saw zombies, apocalypse and werewolves and I was sold. So I just bought it. And then I got to know Parker and Adam and I love this book so much. It had everything I love in books and series, just kind of blended together. And it was great. And as for what the book is about, it's basically about Parker Osborne. And Parker is a college student and he thought he could just half-ass one of his free classes. And then he gets, I think it was a C- or so. And he goes to the TA who gave him that grade. And the TA is Adam. And Adam and Parker, well, they don't get along well. They really dislike each other at the beginning, and Parker isn't really nice when he complains about his grade. So they kind of meet and they leave each other on bad terms, and then Parker is sulking basically the entire day and misses everything that's going on around him, namely the zombie apocalypse. And when he goes to one of his classes at night, he meets Adam, and just when they both are about to get in another fight, the zombie apocalypse starts and people get turned and attack others, and Adam just lets Parker jump on his motorcycle and they ride away into nature and far away from the city. Yeah, and try to figure out what happened. And I just loved those two. They had the enemies to lovers trope. It was so strong in there. And also they worked so well. Whenever Parker was kind of freaking out, Adam really managed to calm him down. And they were just great. They had so many gentle and sweet moments between them, but also very spicy scenes. So be aware of that when you read that book. It's an romance and there are spicy scenes. But I really love them as a couple together and how they get together, how they support each other through those difficult times. It was really so nice to read about. And I can't wait to read the second book, because the first book is basically Parker and Adam being on a road trip trying to get to Cape Cod, where Parker's parents are supposed to stay, and all the adventures and problems they have to face while they make their way through America. And the second book, we go into a different direction, so I'm very curious about that. I just loved it. It was perfect. I don't know why, but for me this book was so perfect. So 4.5 paws it got, and I regret nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay, the third book I read or finished to read in January is finally Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. And this book has been on my currently reading for ages. I'm so glad I finally managed to finish it. And well, as for the rating, I gave it 4 paws. It definitely wasn't the best of Cassandra Clare's books. I mean, it was okay, the ending was okay, but just in general, I don't know. It had me engaged enough because I love the characters. So I continued to read, and I wanted to know what would happen next and what the characters would do and how it would end. But it didn't have me as glued to the pages as all the former books. And I think that's basically or mainly due to the build-up or the storyline of this book. And here comes a spoiler, so if you haven't read the third book, please continue. If you have, just stay with me, and you can write down comments and let me know if you think the same things I do, or if you feel the same way about the book. Because as I already said, it definitely wasn't the best of Cassandra Clare's books. What I really didn't like was the entire section of Thule. I don't know why we needed Julian and Emma to escape into an entirely different universe, or I don't know, where Livy is still alive. I mean, this kind of thing made absolutely no sense. It kind of felt like they only went to Thule to be able to not feel the parabatai bond and to have a couple of steamy scenes, if you get what I mean. So I didn't see the point of Thule. I honestly, I didn't. And probably for the reader to, I don't know, soften the blow of losing Livy, because Livy in that dimension is still alive. I don't know, it just didn't work for me that way. And also I think the ending was so convenient with Julian and Emma turning into those huge Nephilim and then losing their parabatai mark and then being able to be together. It was just too convenient, and it felt so weird, them turning into huge Nephilim. I don't know, I wasn't on board with a lot of the things and the plot lines that were going on in this book. Gotta be honest here, I loved the first and the second book, but that one just didn't work for me. And as for all the pairings and the couples, I mean, considering that Emma and Jules are the main couple here, I couldn't, I don't know. I was more invested in Kieran, Christina and Mark and their relationship. I was very happy to see that they actually started a polyamorous relationship at the ending of the book. I didn't expect Cassie to go for that, but wow, it was great. I loved that. Kit and Ty broke my heart. They just broke it, and I don't know how to recover from that. It just hurt. It hurt so much. And yeah, overall, and that's the ending of the spoiler section here. Overall, the book just didn't live up to my expectations. There were a lot of things that felt way too convenient, and it felt like, I don't know, Cassandra Clare just needed to find a way out of the parabatai bond without letting Jules and Emma face the consequences of what they did. Yeah, it was just too convenient. No, not for me. And very strange ideas to get the plot along. Yeah, not my cup of tea. 4 paws still, because I love the Shadowhunter world. I love all of the Blackthorns and Emma, and I'm a fan of all the cameos of Chase and Clary, and I absolutely adore the Christina, Mark, Kieran relationship. So yeah, 4 paws it is, and that's okay. Okay, let's move on to another book, and that book was recommended to me by my sister, and it was Love on the Brain by Hazelwood. And I rated it 4 paws because it was really entertaining. It was a lot of fun to read about the crazy things that happened in here, and I absolutely love the characters. Lady Ward is really book boyfriend material, and also B was a great character. B was really hilarious. I love to read about her thoughts, but yeah, as with every Hazelwood, if you've read one of her books, you know the formula. It's mostly, I mean, by now she got out other books, but her STEM novels are always focused on a female scientist who falls in love with some sort of enemy of hers, and of course that person or the man is always gorgeous, always extremely tall, has huge hands, and I don't know, you get the idea. And the protagonist, the female protagonist, is always tiny and short and a little fairy. So yeah, it's Hazelwood's books follow a formula and they work somehow. She manages to get across the things with a lot of humor. And well, in this book, basically, B gets offered a job at NASA, and she takes it, even though her arch enemy of her college days or university days works there as well and is going to be her boss, or her co-worker at least. And of course, they both fall in love, and it turns out that he liked her for a very long time, and there were a lot of misunderstandings, etc., etc. What I found really interesting in that one was that everything was even more, I don't know how to put it, I wrote it down. I wrote down it was extremely kitschy, but in a good way, in a very good way. Everything was just so much more out of proportion, and there were bigger stakes, and everything was just more intense and stronger than the things usually are in an Ellie Hazelwood book. But it somehow worked. And as always, I really liked the side characters. Kaylee and Rocky were great. And yeah, I don't think I have to explain a lot about this book. It was a nice romance, and it would be perfect for February if you want to read a romance book in the month of Valentine's Day. I gave it 4 paws, and I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, it was cute. It was really, really adorable and cute. And wholesome. Okay, and now let's move to the last book I read in January, and it was Nothing More to Tell by Karen M. McManus. And I rated it 4 paws once again, and I was really pleasantly surprised by that one. I've read The Cousins before, and I was no huge fan of The Cousins. It just wasn't my kind of book. But this one worked again. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that we have somewhat similar character names than in One of Us is Lying. I mean, in One of Us is Lying we had Nate and Bronwyn, and in Nothing More to Tell we have Bryn and Trip, aka Noah. So there's a pattern there, you get the pattern, right? But otherwise, it was really nice, and it's basically about Bryn, who returns to her former hometown after spending 4 years at a different place, and she returns there again to graduate from school and meets all her former school friends. And 4 years ago, she left the city after the murder of her favorite teacher, Mr. Larkin. And that case is still a cold case, and no one knows who killed him. The only witnesses who found him were 3 kids. They were Shane, Charlotte, and Trip. So she tries to get closer to Trip to find out what happened 4 years ago. And she is hired as an intern at the company named Motive, and they kind of roll up cold cases, and she kind of got the job by pitching Mr. Larkin's case. So she's very invested in finding out who killed him. And yeah, the only witnesses who found the dead body were her 3 former classmates, who are all very close friends now. Yeah, so, and of course Trip is gorgeous, and she kind of likes him, and he kind of likes her as well. Yeah, so much to following a formula. Anyway, it was really nicely done in here. I really like to follow the mystery, to find all the different clues, to wonder who murdered Mr. Larkin, and to follow Bryn's and Trip's journey to get together, or the relationship journey. Anyway, it was way better than The Cousins, and I really enjoyed it. And I think from the ranking of all the McManus books I read so far, it's definitely among One of Us is Lying. So One of Us is Lying and Nothing More to Tell are basically on the same level. So I really liked it, and I wasn't disappointed. I was happy to read it. Okay, so those were the 5 books I read in January. I had a great reading month, considering that all of those books were 4.5, or 5 posts even. So yeah, I'm really on a roll. It really seems like I'm on a roll picking great books at the moment. Let's hope it continues into February. Okay, and well, what did you read in January? Did you read some of the books I read? Do you have the same opinions as I do? Do you have a different opinion? If you've read Queen of Air and Darkness, please let me know if you liked it and if you didn't like it. If you had the same issues I did, I would really love to hear another perspective and another point of view regarding that book, because it didn't work that well. From all the Cassandra Clare's books, this was one that really didn't work all too good for me. Anyway, so yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts, which kind of books you read in January, if you agree with me or not, what you're going to read in February. Well, just write me a comment and let me know. You know, I always answer to every comment I get. And well, I think we're already at the ending of my video and there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!